There's a phrase that shows up in almost every leadership room. We just don't have the capacity. It sounds responsible, measured, even realistic. There's too much work, too few people, and too little time. But sometimes capacity isn't the constraint. Sometimes it's the cover. Because if the problem isn't capacity, then it might be prioritization, or courage, or clarity. It might mean we're protecting something, our comfort, our identity, our way of working. Today's conversation lives there. Madeline Jackson is a business efficiency consultant and strategic advisor who helps creative businesses bridge the gap between vision and operational excellence. She works where ambition meets friction, where growth starts to feel heavy, where teams insist they're stretched, but the deeper issue isn't workload, it's belief. Madeline, welcome to Clarity Over Noise. I'm really glad you're here. Here's the question that we're pulling at today. If most teams don't actually have a capacity problem, what belief are they protecting by insisting that they do?
It's such a good question. And it's one that I hear over and over again. You're sitting in a meeting and they say, we can't get everything done because we just don't have the people, we don't have the manpower. And I often find it in the context of creative studios as well. They might have like a billing target that they have to reach, but they can't get there because they don't have enough people. And then vice versa, they can't bring any more people on because they're not reaching their billing targets. So when I hear this kind of capacity problem start to come up, the first thing I want to do is validate the premise. Do you actually have a capacity problem? And to do that, I like to calculate what I call comfortable capacity. And that is basically if you take your team's time, maybe you have 15 team members and you multiply out how many hours they have in a year and then just divide that by 50%, and we leave that 50% free, time off, lunch breaks, meetings that go nowhere. Let's just leave 50% aside for that. And let's focus on the 50% that we do have. What can we get done in that? So then I want to divide that by your average amount of hours that a project takes. And that gives us a bit of an indication of how many projects can, or, whatever the unit of work you have, how many projects can you fit within a year with the team that you currently have? When I do this calculation, like probably 80, 90% of the time, there's enough time. There's so many hours. If you have a team of 15 people only using 50% of their time, that's like 15,000 hours every year. That is a lot of time. So the first thing I like to do is validate the premise. And if I've kind of uncovered, actually, there's plenty of time in the day, then I like to dig a little bit deeper, and there's typically probably three things that are not working, and that is what's kind of churning through our time. So, one is alignment. When your team is not aligned with each other, they're all kind of running in different directions, and you're introducing waste because people are not united in the same goal. I like to think of it like a soccer team, right? Everyone on the team has different skill sets, they have different strategies, they have a different role to play in the team, but ultimately they're all focused on that one goal. When you have a team that's creating their goalposts wherever they want, then you have chaos, and chaos is just a waste of time. The second thing is structure. So teams that don't have a lot of structure find themselves spinning their wheels because they're constantly trying to work out what to do next. And that is just such a waste of time, particularly if you're in the type of industry where you do one thing over and over and over again. You can get really good at it. I think there is a compulsion to try and understand process at this high, broad, sweeping level. But it's so important if you want to make the most of your time to understand it at the task level, because the task level is where things actually get done. And that can often be the disconnect between like leadership and the team. And speaking of the disconnect, the third thing is often visibility. A lot of people don't have a good sense of how long things take. That is just something I've discovered across every single business. It's really actually really hard to estimate. So you need visibility of the data that helps you make decisions about how you use your time. I can give you a bit of a story about this. So I used to work with this studio, And they had this really great project management software, but only the leadership team could see how profitable the projects were. And then the team who was actually doing all the work, they didn't have visibility of that. But they thought they were doing a great job because they're getting things done on time, or the clients are happy. And the leadership team is there looking at, oh, every single project is running over budget and it's not profitable. That type of disconnect, if you don't have the data and the feedback to give you visibility for your own performance, it's going to be really hard to manage capacity. The other thing about that is, and this is why I recommend using a software, because it is just so much easier if you just make it all visible, make it visible. Being good at capacity is about playing Tetris, right? So if you don't understand and you can't visually see how big that block is, what that block is about, what the purpose of that block is, how are you supposed to kind of fit it in and make it all fit in a cohesive way? So those are three things that I frequently see. But your original question was really about what belief are we protecting? And I think the belief at the core of all of this is that, and it's going to sound a little bit harsh, but I think we want to believe that the things we do matter. And I think we want to believe that we fill our days with things that matter. But I think when you scrape back and look at those three things that are often missing in organizations, we fill our days with a lot of busy work. And busy work is work that feels important, feels time sensitive. You know, you've got people asking for it, but it doesn't lead to any outcomes and it doesn't make any meaningful change. So I think the belief we're protecting is that we want to feel important, we want to feel busy, we want to feel like there's a lot going on, but are we filling our day with the right things? Like, are we on mission? Are we following the process? Do we have visibility of what really matters? And that's my answer to the capacity problem.
I got so much from that answer. And as you were nearing the end, I was thinking about something called mental models, which is the stories that we tell ourselves as we move through the world to make meaning of the world. Essentially, it's a set of if-then statements. If this happens, then that must be true. And so one easy if-then statement is, if I'm a VP, when I walk past Bob's office, if he looks busy, then he must be productive. If he doesn't look busy, then he must be lazy. As leaders, we fall in love with keeping people busy, and as followers, we fall in love with looking busy. What I was really helped by what you said was that there's a certain tension there. We don't have capacity feel safe. It keeps us from having to choose, from having to stop something, from having to admit that we might be solving the wrong problem. Capacity is visible, beliefs are not. And sometimes the loudest constraint in a team isn't time. It's the story that they've agreed not to challenge. So Madeline, thank you for reminding us that clarity often starts by questioning the constraint everyone assumes is real. This is Clarity Over Noise. One question, one take. Until next time, stay honest enough to name what you're protecting.